Sanibonani, class in session today. We'll be learning some insights about the media industry, behind the scenes stuff, particularly public relations, aka PR. We always hear about, PR in the music business every day. So today I'm chatting to Melanie Ramjee, who is a PR guru. So yeah, let's get to it. I'm excited about this one because Melanie has been in the game for like 18 years, 18 years in the game doing PR.
By the way.
Mel,
What's up?
I'm good. How are you?
Cool. Please don't just get distracted by the sneakers in the back. But I needed a cool background.
I was about to say, I love your sneaker collection, and you're married to a sneakerhead. So, I'm a big sneaker fan as well. So, it's not easy for me to not get distracted, but that's not why we are here. How are you today?
I'm good, and you caught me right on time. I've literally just walked in from my last meeting for the day. So super excited to be here. And thanks to everybody who's joining. Yay.
Look, thank you so much for your time. I think that your story is important, and I'll keep telling it with every platform that I launch.
Thank you, Angela.
So let's get to it, man. I remember when I met you, many years ago. You told me an interesting story that when you started in the game, one of the first things that you did is that you and your friends did like a hip hop event, right? And you had like an international artist come over. When did this happen? And tell me the story.
Cool. Okay, cool. I don't know if I told you the first one or the second one. So I think, well, at the time I had started so how I came into this business is I started a record label called Eargasm Entertainment with two business partners. One was a friend a DJ friend, and one was my boyfriend at the time. And we were doing very well. We were young kids getting into the business. They were both DJs actually at a nightclub, and I would run the door. And then that record label it evolved into a entertainment company. So it became Eargasm Entertainment. And our first international artist we brought out it was a group of people. It was a guy named Babito Garcia, who was very renowned and is a legendary commentator, content creator, basketball player in New York. We also brought Mr. Len, and we also brought actually a South African girl called, at the time it was What, who's now known as Jean Grey. And her real name is Ibrahim. So yeah, we brought them out. We had an amazing event at a downtown club in Johannesburg. We made zero money, but it put our names, out there. So that was really the first one. So I might have been telling you about the second one, which was a bigger concert and a lot more known names. And that was called Black August. And that one we brought out quite a few well-known names, but Black Thought from the Roots. Initially, Lauryn Hill was on the lineup, and she went AWOL just before the concert. And we were just kids, trying to figure out things. Who else was on it? Jeez, Dead Prez was on the lineup. That was crazy, yeah. So that concert was called Black August. Talib Kweli was on the lineup. It was insane.
I remember that concert. I think I was in school at the time. But
you might have been 5, Andile. You were young that time.
No, I'm old. I think I was in primary or high school. I don't remember. What happened? What happened to Lauryn Hill? Was she in the country, or did she go AWOL before even landing?
The internet is global, so let's not get sued. And she's performing at this concert next year that I'm trying to go to. I don't want to be banned, but I'll tell you the truth real quick. So we actually had such huge sponsorships for that concert, and I won't mention it out of courtesy, but we had a big international brand who was sponsoring the concert, who then pulled out. But Lauryn Hill was just going through a lot of personal trauma and just a lot of internal battles with herself. So I think at the time she had found out her partner was cheating on her at the time. So she was going through the most. So she went first. She went AWOL for the Black August show in the US, and then we had to make a call, and we had to go to the sponsors, us young kids, and say, "Ish, those millions you were giving us, yeah, we just need to, be honest and tell you the truth." And so we were honest, and obviously they pulled out. So again, we made zero money. We actually lost money. So my business partners at the time, yeah, we made a name for ourselves. Little did everyone know we made no money. We were broke kids.
Yo, but that's crazy. Like, this is like legendary stuff. This is like your first company, but already you're doing, legendary stuff. And it's just amazing that,
we didn't know that at the time, Andile. We were just kids trying to make some money and do what we loved, actually. More so do what we loved. And maybe make some money on the side.
That's one of the questions I'm going to ask you, at the end of our chat, like, the love versus the money, but we'll get there. By the way, Mark is being slick in the comments. He's asking, where did you get the hat? Mark is Melanie's husband, guys.
Yo, guys, why is he all up in our comments?
Did he give you that hat? Is that why he's asking?
He must have. I mean, it was in my cupboard when I left the house today. It might be his.
So there was Eargasm, and then also you were part of a company called Speaker's Corner. No, you were actually working for Speaker's Corner, and this is like after Eargasm, right? And,
you know my whole story.
No, I know your story. And I want us to unpack it because I think your story is very important. Okay, and I remember this is before my time, but you once mentioned that you traveled the world with the Smirnoff brand, and
for sure.
I assume this was during your time as a senior account manager at Speaker's Corner. Tell me about that journey.
Well, as relationships go, my boyfriend and I had then broken up. So it was kind of awkward to be working in this company together. And I went to work for an agency, which was the best choice ever. They had headhunted me to work for a brand called Smirnoff. I didn't really drink. I was very conflicted working for alcohol. Even though I sort of kind of drank, but working for an alcohol brand at the time was a bit controversial considering I come from a religious family. So I had a discussion with my family and I took the gig, they approved. And I started working there. I was a junior account manager. The lady who was my boss was someone I looked up to and loved. And, I really loved the work she had done. Her name is Lebu Motswenyane. Shout out! But she was lovely and she was my boss. So I was so honored to work under her. And she's pretty much taught me everything I knew about PR in a professional corporate sense at the time. And it broke my heart. But 6 months into the job, she quit. She wanted to pursue sports PR and go into like a different direction. And it literally broke my heart. But I was left in the position where I'm now holding a senior PR position when I was just like a small Nyana child who was doing PR and I had to step in. And Smirnoff completely changed my life. They took me around the world. I got to take different media, different winners, different media, partners to different parts of the world. And it was the greatest experience of my life. I worked on the brand for 7 years. All my friends got free Smirnoff, by the way. Like Smirnoff was the only vodka that we even knew existed. There were different portfolios. So if you liked the 1818 one, it was the one you're getting drunk very quickly on. There was the red and then there was the premium black. But we went to Carnival every year. I took out media. We went out to Russia, which is one of my favorite countries. And we would travel the world. It's back when brands had budgets. But the good thing is, there was only Smirnoff, so there was no competition. You didn't have to worry about all these other brands. So we were literally the coolest. Well, it was us and Absolute, but we were the two only known vodkas. There was no Ciroc and all these other brands. We killed it in the game. And outside of that, it's because I did progress to work on other brands because, it can get mundane working on one brand. So I started working on Levi Strauss, which was clothing. I also worked a lot on the Heineken brand. I worked on some J&B projects, so a lot of alcohol portfolios. But I also diversified. And then, of course, I started working with the YFM brand, which was really up my street. I was still a youth at the time. And I was probably the most appropriate account manager in the company, with like a senior account manager working in the business who would work on YFM. And geez, I love those guys because they followed me when I started my own business. But I got to work a lot with YFM, and they became my first client when I started my own business a few years later. But yeah, that's pretty much my journey at Speaker's Corner. It gave me my corporate foundation.
You know, what I love about what you just said about the stories that, you know, when you say back when brands had budget, because now as a creative, whatever you propose, whatever you want to work on, you know, they're going to tell you, hey, we don't have budget, you know.
We don't have budget. You know what? Or they tell influencers, we're going to pay you. And then the agency has to break the news that the budget is actually 5 rand, but I want 500 posts. So it always falls on the agencies. Well, sometimes.
Well, hopefully, you know, the economy will be better and, you know, brands will have money again. But you started your company in 2010. I remember you did the YFM parties, and YFM, like you said, you know, it was one of the first companies that took you on, and they were like, okay, cool, we'll be your client. Sure. And you did, there were these YFM parties in Newtown, I believe, you know.
Yeah, with Edgar's. Edgar's music series.
Yeah. That, no, was that 2010 or 2009?
No, I think it was like 2007, 8, and 9. It was for a while.
Yeah, you know, and you were like, you guys were doing these amazing parties. So tell me about, you know, Tutone Communications. You were a senior account manager as an employee. Now you're like, okay, cool, I'm going to be my own boss, and then I'm going to start this company. 2010, it's been like, what, 12 years now? 11?
Sure. 12? Let's not talk time, Andile. I'm still young.
Okay.
I'm a youth. So I think 2010 obviously was World Cup. Everybody was out to get opportunities. I didn't see much growth in the company that I worked for, other than the step up was to be a director. And I thought, why don't I start my own business? You know, I always had my best friend in the one ear and my brother Mpo in the other ear saying, start your own business, start your own business. So just before Tutone, I actually started another company. Well, I didn't start the company, but I jumped onto a company that was currently running my best friend's business, which at the time had a different name. I joined the partnership with her and her partner, and we actually started the 5th season. We changed the name into the 5th season. I was there for a little bit, I think, to get my feet back on the ground. And I realized, you know what, let me take the risk and start my own business. So towards the end of 2010, I registered Tutone. I had no money. I was jobless at the time. I had a little laptop that I borrowed from my brother, and it was broken, like the hinge was falling off. But I'm like, let me start this thing. I called YFM, and I'm like, hey guys, I've left. I've started my own thing. It's been a year. I haven't worked on the brand. And they were like, yeah, sharp, man. Let's go. We've got an event coming up. And they paid me for a week of work what I was getting paid for, more than what I was getting paid for at my previous employment for a whole month. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Until end of the month, when SARS hit me and I had to pay 25% of that money. That's when I was like, let me speed up my business. Got myself registered, went into borrowed. Okay, my husband, he's probably listening, but at the time, borrowed money from a boyfriend, 500 rand, went to register my business, got the business. And the rest, as we know, is history. I'm here now.
You know, like, I was going to ask you about 5th season, like your involvement there, but you just answered that question. I recently found out that you were part of Eclipse, you know, the company. Tell me about that relationship. Like, for those that don't know, Eclipse is like is it a PR company or is it a marketing agency?
No.
It's a big company.
So Eargasm Entertainment, when I left Eargasm and the boyfriend and I separated, he then changed the name into Eclipse. I think it was Eclipse Entertainment. So it was the same company. And I had no involvement in that. So it was way back when.
Oh, I thought that was like the okay, no, 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 no.
No, no,
So
no, no.
it's just the same
But
name.
it's good you know all my history. You know my story.
No, 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 I do, and I remember there was, a website called wanted.co.za, and
Yes.
I'm a lover of content, I'm a lover of content, and I was like,
We
yo,
were
what
ahead
is
of
this?
our time, Andile.
Yeah, yeah, and I found you guys in the game. I'm like, yo, wanted. I checked out the mag, and I liked like the style of writing, and I met a guy called Tiamo, and I found out that you were behind, that blog at the time, and wanted was like top five. It was wanted. It was Zaleb. Okay, no, I think this was before Zaleb, so I don't know, around that time, and it was just curious, and and at the
Cool.
time I was, I just started a new blog, and then it was like these guys, and I was like, damn, this is competition. So what happened to Wanted, man?
So, I mean, it goes back to fifth season. So, my business partner at fifth season, Benza, we were having a discussion, and he always thought of different things. He was always ahead of his time. His head is always spinning on, revolutionizing, the culture, the industry. So he came up with this idea of let's put out I don't know if it was him or the other business partner, my best friend, and Mel, and said, let's start this website. We've got great content, and Mel's a good writer. And he came up with this name, Wanted. And we were like, what the hell is that name? So he told us about the meaning, and he explained it. And yeah, we were also just young people trying to, step up the game. So we launched a website called wanted.co.za. I would do a lot of the content. Tiamo was one of our first employees who we hired, who helped with a lot of content. But we were all doing everything, webmaster, IT guy, writer, publicist, story chaser. And the thing is, because we were in the entertainment game and we were experiential, fifth season was initially an experiential event company. We would come up with solutions for people for events, and which then ventured into artist management and label. And it just, it flourished from there. But that's really where it came from. And we were great at what we do. And we were kids ahead of the game, or young people ahead of the game. It's just, we grew in different directions. I went to start my own business. I think the business just evolved into artist management and that sort of thing, and that took off. So it got put on the back burner. But we were there, with initial. We were there before you young people took over.
Shout out to Wanted. I always say, every time I see it, I'm like, that website was one of my favorite. It's that and just curious.
Thank you.
And
Thank
you
you. We
guys,
appreciate your hits. Thanks.
yeah. So, but you didn't stop blogging, you still have highpresslife.com, which you don't update a lot. Why aren't you updating HighPress?
I do. So you know what? Honestly, I do take my blog seriously and I love it. But it really stemmed from the fact, like my real job, PR. I obviously need to give report backs to clients, and I always get, questions saying, HighPress Live, it didn't get 200 clicks. How do you say this is the value? So I kept getting, questions from brands and brand managers. So I was like, let me start my own blog to see what's realistic. And because I have a huge following, I kind of can gauge. And there was a blog that was out at the time, not to name it, but they kept claiming to have 20,000 hits a month, which didn't seem right, So that's how I started my blog. And then it just transformed into something that was an outlet for me to write and to have fun. Now it's a nice platform for me to release and practice my writing, but I love the freebies that it comes with. So when I'm not doing my real job, PR, I do find some time to blog. So Andile, please bear with me. I'm also full-time mom, full-time wife, full-time running a PR empire, and then I blog on the side. So I try and keep it updated. I think I'm doing well.
Yeah, no, like, look, I'm just, on your case because, it's, you need to update, but I understand. I understand. So, now talking about PR, which is obviously like, your bread and butter, and this is what we know you for.
Yeah, bo.
You have like countless, like, you've worked with like a lot of brands, not just brands, you've worked with a lot of celebrities. But also what you do is that every year you do free PR for like, young girls or women in the industry. Tell me about that initiative, from High Press, from Tutone Communications.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you know what, if it's somebody, I try not to PR for artists, but if it's somebody that speaks to my heart and I love, I just, it's my passion, PR. So not to name people, but I've done some good work for young ladies, young businesses that have started up over the last few years. And it's so somebody empowered me at some point. So it's always nice to empower somebody else, and somebody who might not necessarily have the budget. I'm not cheap. So there's some people who can't, afford my rate. So I do offer that service. I also do PR for a few organizations that talk to causes that I follow and I believe in, and they speak to my heart. And it just gives you balance. And I think working in the industry that me and you and a lot of us have to work in, you can get lost in it. You can get caught up in the fake gram life or the fake life of entertainment. And I think doing those sort of things brings me back. It gives me a reality check. And yeah, if I didn't have that, who would remind me of where I came from? So it's a nice reminder of how I started and other people who uplifted and picked me up, and I need to pass it forward. So
yeah, and that's dope. That's dope. We're glad that you're doing that, Mel. Two more questions left. So I want to know, obviously, PR is not the same as it was, and people always ask me like, even though I don't necessarily do PR, they always ask me like, can you help me with PR? How do I get my brand out there? Especially from a lot of artists, especially now since I started doing this platform, which is house music, and a lot of DJs, a lot of artists are always asking, how do I get my brand out there as far as PR is concerned? So what are some tips that you have for up and coming artists that want to, get their brand out there, or a lot of them want to work with brands?
So first and foremost, you are your own PR. You must be your own publicist. And this is what I tell artists all the time. Instead of giving me your $5,000 as a starting fee, because I don't think you can possibly afford a whole lot more as a starting artist, you should use that for other reasons. So be your own publicist. So when I get so many requests from artists, up and coming guys, young guys, are like, yo, Mel, make me a brand, make me make me famous. You either have it or you don't have it. So do your own PR. Only hire a publicist when you're at a point where you actually don't have the time to manage your brand. And I try and maintain my business in complete honesty, or I actually try and execute it, and I believe I do. But I always tell people that instead of wasting your $5,000, save your $5,000, call the Daily Sun and ask them to put you on. If you need help with writing, I can help you with that, but you don't need to pay somebody money. And it's so sad that people will take your money and sell you dreams and give all publicists a bad name. But I always maintain that honesty with young and upcoming guys. Like, do your own PR. You can be your own publicist. When you can manage it, call me. If you can't write, call me. But you don't need to pay somebody to do your PR. You either have it or you don't. Picking up a phone to a newspaper, I did that one day, and that's how I have the contact. So try do your own PR first. That would be always my first advice to young guys coming up.
And that's great advice. That's great advice, Mel. We really appreciate that. Right now, we're living in an era of influencers, right? Back in the day, if there's a campaign, you would involve media and celebrities. But now there's this new wave of kids that are not celebrities. They're on TikTok, they're on Twitter, they're on Instagram. You are also an influencer because you charge a lot of money from your Instagram, 10 years ago, because you're one of the first people to have a lot of followers from Twitter as well. But now, how
it started on Facebook, Andile. Let's take it way back. Facebook. In fact, let's take it way back. MySpace. Do you know what's MySpace?
I know MySpace. I've never been on it though.
Started on MySpace. That's where I started my social media. MySpace. I wasn't even an artist, but I kept hearing about this thing called MySpace. Sorry, back to your question.
My question is, what is publicity looking like, especially like influencer work now, since we have all these kids that are making, content? What are some of the things that you've learned, and if you can forecast like the future of influential work, how does it look like, considering like new media and all that stuff?
Sure. I think because I've been so involved in social media since way back, I'm always trying to keep ahead of the game in PR. So as the industry evolved, my business didn't offer just traditional PR. It offered influencer campaigns. It offered different solutions PR-wise. So I'm not going to send out a press release and pray I get 20 clippings and 20 interviews. You have to think outside the box. So my company's it's evolved with the times, and it offers different solutions. So as the times progress, so does my business evolve. How I think the industry is going is, I think it got very saturated with so many different influencers talking about every brand. I think people started seeing through it, or they have been seeing through it for a while. And I think now with the introduction of TikTok and all these other programs, people are more about authentic influencers. Where it's young people talking about brands that they actually wear and they live by. So I think there's a definite shift, even social media wise. The likes are gone now. So it's not about how many likes you get anymore. It's actually about, how your engagement, the content you're putting out. And I love that it's moving to that way, because it's more sincere, it's more authentic, it's genuine. And I love that it's going in that direction. So it's about ever evolving your business and where it's going. So as much as I send out the traditional press release still, and we do get the coverage, we do offer so many other solutions now that work for your brand in particular. So it's always tailor-made to what that brand is. So what will work for Nike might not necessarily work for, Ciroc or, Altitude Beach. It's all a different PR plan for each of them. So we tailor-make different plans for different people. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. You're giving me such dope answers. One last question. I know I said only two. You've been in the game for a long time. I'm not going to say the number of years because I know you're still dating.
10, man, 10.
So, what is to have like longevity in the media, in the game, as like, a lot of people come 4 or 5 years, they're no longer relevant. You've been there throughout, and you're still relevant today. You're still getting the work. You're one of those people that, like, when it's your birthday, it's a mess because you struggle with your guest list because you're like, especially now since it's COVID. Now, who do you invite? But my point is, you have such great relationships in the media industry, and a lot of people love you. How as an up and coming person, when I put out the poster that I'm going to be interviewing you, I had someone say to me, yo, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to this because that person wants to be in your shoes, or rather, they're inspired by your publicist stories and all that stuff. And what is that advice that you would say to people? Like, look, if you come into the game, if you're like a young girl who's like 18, 19, and you're like, yo, I also want to have a big company like Tutone Communications. Yeah. So what's your advice?
I think coming into this business and knowing what you're coming into it for has to be for the right reasons. I think coming into PR is because I loved writing. I love people. And I think you have to be realistic. So my advice is come into PR for the right reasons. Don't become a publicist because you think you're going to hang out with celebrities. PR is a lot of work. It takes many, many years to build your contact list. Networking is tiring. It's not always fun. To be at all these parties, networking is a job. So when you're there, you're constantly working. So it's not about having a party. So I always tell young people, be realistic. Can you write? If not, okay, tick. We can hire somebody to write. Do you love people? Do you love working hard? So I think very important, go into this for the right reason. Once you have that foundation, everything else is easy to work on. Go into it for the right reason. So it starts at the foundation, at the very beginning. If you love PR and it's your calling and you love people, you're already going in the right direction. Don't go into it thinking, I'm going to just be hanging out with Beyonce. That's not what PR is. Or I'm going to be partying all day. PR, like any other job, is really hard work and it takes years. I've been in this now. We joke about it, but it's coming close to 20 years. I'm going to have a big, 2-decade celebration after COVID, God willing. But it's been a long road to get to where I am. And there's a lot of quick fixes, and there's been a lot of PR people that have come, you know, traveled this journey with me, that have come and gone, that have fallen off. And there's ones that are still in it 20 years later because they were in it for the right reason. So pretty much that. But I'm always a call away. I'm always a DM away. So if I didn't, there's been a lot of questions, Andile, you've been ignoring on this timeline. So I will answer these people on the side. I've seen a lot of questions. So
guys, I'm sorry for not you know, getting to your questions, man. You know, I'm looking at the time also because I don't want to, you know, like one of the insights of being a digital content creator is that you don't want to make the interviews too long. You know, because people have a, you know, short span of attention, so you gotta get to it.
Sure.
Yeah,
we'll
so
do
it's supposed to be 20 minutes, but it's already over 30 minutes. So
we'll do a part 2, 6 months time.
No, we'll do a part 2 soon. So High Press, Melanie, thank you so much for your time. I always appreciate it. I'm gonna invite you on another interview because I'm launching another platform soon.
Oh my gosh, Andile, you're the future, my brother. And
Look,
I will support whatever you do, like you've always supported my life. Thank you. And thanks for having me.
Someone has to do it. Someone has to create platforms for
it's a hard job, you know. Thank you.
I
we need the coverage.
It's a calling. It's a calling, you know, just like you, PR is your
calling.
You
in it for the right reason.
Yes, I mean, you know, content needs to be documented, man, you know, and if people are not doing it, then it means I have to do it. I can't just be like, complaining all the time. But anyway, thank you so much for your time, Mel.
Thanks for having me. Lots of love, and thank you for everyone who tuned in.
Okay,
have a good night. Good night. Bye.